Hi there. We are at the Ebro system at the moment in northern Spain. And this is where it started for me about 17 years ago in '97. On the other side of the river there was a fishing camp and I was using their services for many years. And we were fishing here in those days in the end of the '90s for carp, but mainly for catfish. But in the meantime so many things has changed here. So a lot of anglers came here. They started to bait up with pellets, and the carp and the catfish were growing to exceptional sizes. Catfish of 200 pounds have been caught in this stretch in front of us. Carp of 35 kilo has been caught somewhere over there. It's very nice, of course, and everybody likes to catch big fish. But what I'm looking for at the moment is I want to go back 17 years ago in time. I want to catch a wild river carp, because these big carp and catfish are in fact pets that grow up by the thousands of kilos of pellets who went in the river. I have fished a little bit everywhere, from let's say 100 kilometers downstreams to about 100 kilometers upstreams, and all those years, I don't know, 25-30 times I have been there in all those days. And what I have seen is there is a lot of angling pressure that came the last couple of years, and there are not that many stretches anymore that are really wild like in the old days of the river Ebro. So we will try and find some wild stretches from the river Ebro. And maybe the carp or the catfish that we will catch will not be that big as the ones here, but it will be a true fish. Well, it was a short night after this long drive. We fished till yesterday evening, I think 11 o'clock. I reeled in the rods because I was really tired. And I restarted to fish around 6 o'clock this morning. But so far I didn't get any takes. And the reason I think is quite simple. It's a wild river, there is a lot of current. For example, I'm fishing literally with maximum 5-6 meters line, 1.5 meter from the bank with a 200 gram sled, and it's still pushed against the bank, so the current is very strong over here. So what we will do now is we're going to look for the carp. We will try to find them. We will stalk them. Hopefully we can catch a few carp during the day, but we will have to go to other swims. But that's wild fishing. But my good friend Richard, he has caught a carp. We're gonna have a look at it, and it seems that our Spanish friends had one as well. So are you following me? Well, it seems that I'm arriving at the right moment. So you get some action, lads.
Yeah, we had a good morning this morning. My friend Ferran here joined me this morning. We've been fishing from about 6 o'clock, and probably about 6:30 the carp showed up, and we had 3 fish in about 20 minutes, Ronnie. So
good.
Really hard fighting, beautiful river commons. They're not the biggest in the world, but I'd guess this one's the nice 28 pounds. So yeah, 12 kilos, is that 13 kilos?
It looks like a really fighting machine.
Like a dinosaur.
They're long, powerful, never been caught, I guess, before.
Yeah.
This is very nice. So you had 3 in about, so that was a short feeding spell then in just a couple of minutes?
Yeah,
20
exactly.
minutes?
In 20 minutes or so, and then the action stopped.
Okay, so that means a little group of carp passed by. Well done, guys.
What a beautiful carp.
In the last 15 years, a lot has changed here on the Rio Ebro river system. First of all, in the beginning, we were mainly fishing with maize because maize was the instant bait in those days for carp. So sweet corn, maize, that was the bait in those days. In the meantime, more and more carp anglers, certainly in the popular areas, has started to use pellets, for example. And the carp from today, for example, they grow on these pellets. 20 years ago, a 20-pound carp, a 25-pound carp, a 30-pound carp was a really big fish for the river. Now they have caught them up to 35 kilos, more or less. And that's due to the big amounts of bait that the anglers are putting in the water. So this is, for example, something which has changed. More angling pressure, of course. I remember that we drove up and down the river from let's say from Mora up to Escatron, which is a stretch of more or less 200 kilometers. And we fished, let's say, a little bit everywhere. And we were often the only angler in a very big area, but that was it. We were alone on the river, and now you have anglers everywhere. Wherever you go on the river Ebro, you will find carp anglers. In the 90s, certainly, we were all using 12 and 13 foot rods. And now, for example, I'm fishing a lot with the scope rods, which are 10 foot. If I only have to fish at 40, 50 meters, 60 meters from the bank, they are more than capable to cast that distance. They are 3-pounders. You can put in the kettle to a very small rod, in fact, so they take less space in the car than our big 12 and 30 foot rods from the old days. Bait-wise, as I said, maize, that was the instant bait. But now we really have good instant action boilies from Ness, for example. Carp really accepted very fast, less than 24 hours, that they recognized our bait as really a food source. That's the difference, for example, with the old days. There were very few good bait companies could produce proper ready-made boilie. Now the instant action boilies, for example, from Ness are really good and trigger fish into a bite very fast. So we just have seen in a little bay over there some carp, so we're going to try to catch them. So only thing I have with me is this scope combo rucksack with some bait in, some terminal tackle, and that's it. It smells sweet corn. So we came here in this little secret swim from Richard. He has fished here many times before. And straight away we have seen some lovely fish here. So there were a couple of blackbirds cruising at the surface at the other bank. In the back of the bay we have seen some carp between the weed and the reeds. Hopefully they come out and we can catch a few. What I'm going to do now, I really have to visit what we call rainbow style. That means like on Lake de Courtois in France, fishing around the corners. We have found quite some carp in the back bay over there, but it's very difficult to get our lines there, and therefore I have put 2 big thick reeds in the ground, and my line will go like that in the direction of the carp. You know, for this kind of fishing you just need the most handy stuff, and you know, this is the scope rod. This is already ready. This one has to be open. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover my hook point with some past, just to be sure that when it falls on the bottom, that it does not take any rubbish, whatever. Personally, I always like to fish with the smallest bait that is possible, because I believe that smaller baits are more instant than big baits. But that's my personal belief, so other people will have maybe other opinions. Okay, and now I'm off, so you will miss me a couple of minutes. Try not to draw myself, but if you like to catch a carp or two, you sometimes have to do something for it. I like this style of fishing, you know, this is my thing. It is really hunting. And I enjoy, you know, catching a fish like 15 or 20 pounds this way. Well, I enjoy it more than catching a big fish in a swim where everybody has been. But as I said, that's a personal matter, and everybody has to decide for himself what he wants for his fishing. So we cannot expect that everybody thinks the same. I like it. Just gonna have a look. I love it. One done, one more to go. Rig I'm going to use is quite simple, quite a light lead, safety bolt bead. I'm going to use a bread bump, as I want to fish with bread in that area. As I said, with carp who hasn't been caught before, it's not sure that they will take the boilies. Normally when I fish with the bread bump, I use this XT Seaflow line, as it is, you know, almost invisible in water. But I only have it up to 12 pounds, and there is quite some weight in that area. So therefore I first want to give it a go with the new armor braid link. Good thing of this armor braid is that it is very heavy, very strong, abrasion resistance very high, and it sinks like a brick really. So what I want to try is that my bait, so the bread I'm fishing with, sinks like that to the bottom and stay in fact just above the bottom, and if a carp comes, that it just, you know, when they move some water with their fins, that it starts to get some life in it. And if I succeed to do that, well, then it will be a clever carp if he does not react on it. The main thing is you have to try to get the carp on your bait. If you get them that far that they eat your bait, you're already on the good way. Because a carp is a selfish animal, and as soon as they start to feed on your bait, they will trigger their friends into feeding as well. And the more they are feeding, the more competition there is, and the easier it will become to get a take, to get a run from them. So this is certainly a very important point, and that is in fact more important than in fact the rigs. Rigs, just keep it simple, very basic rig will do the business for unpressed carp. Once again, my line have to stay on this side of the pole. We call it rainbow style. The first day we fished, let's say, for one fish, so that means we were fishing close to the fish and we did not want to put too much bait out. So just a little bit of bait around my rig and so on. And that was definitely not enough to trigger them into a bite. And what we changed then is I put some more bait out so that they had the time during the night to move on the bait. And within 15 hours they were more than happy to be in the area and to eat my bait. So that is first of all, a reason why the instant action is so good, and I have so much confidence in it. But that was it mainly. They moved in the bait that I had put out the evening before. So we already have been waiting a couple of hours to get a take the carp out there, so that's for sure. But they are certainly not feeding at the moment. But anyway, I have found a little bit deeper in the bay some more carp. I'm going to prepare everything here in the swim so that I do not lose time over there. I'm going to try to create a little bit of food competition, and hopefully if I succeed to do that, I can try to catch one. So therefore I have taken this little 6-foot scope rod. I will put a rig between the foot and hopefully we can catch one then. There's one there. There's one there, there is one there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to try to fish. Oh, they are flanking, you know, see, just look like this, look at that. It seems that they are a little bit more active. But I have to fish from behind that tree over there. This carp has never been caught before, and what shocked me was in fact that a carp moved in, and I really could see it. It happened less than 3 meters in front of me. So he moved in, he saw my line, and 10 centimeters before he touched my line, he turned and he followed my line and he went away. So even carp that does not really know what angling pressure is, even they recognize a line, and even they can let's say be difficult to catch if they are not in a frenzy mood, you know. So well, it is another day on the bank here. You have seen yesterday we have found the carp in a little bay, really wild carp that never has been caught before on angler's bait. And this is, for example, in contrary with the famous stretches on the river Ebro, like in Mikenenza, Chiaprana, where every day hundreds of kilos, even thousands of kilo pellets goes into the water and the carp just move in, clean the swim of bait. These carp here, they have never been caught before. They have never been in touch with an angler's bait. And nevertheless, we have found them. We had difficulties to really catch them. So we did not catch the fish. That was one thing. But what we have done yesterday evening, we have baited up, and we, in the hope that during the night they will move in the swim and start to feed on the bait. But experiences from the past, from even in the 1980s, have learned me that it can take 2, 3, 4 days before the carp really starts to eat angler's bait. And this is what I'm testing at the moment. I'm going to give it a couple of hours in the swim, and if I do not catch anything, I will put some more bait out and come back for a couple of hours tomorrow. There we go. Yeah, that's a carp. It hasn't been easy to get this take because, as I said, these are not fish who feed every day on angler's bait. So this was my biggest problem, to get them on my bait, and there is one. It's not a monster, but at least it is a wild Ebro carp. Come on. These are wild river carp, you know, they are strong. Okay. This one is in. Happy days. Oh, this little fella makes my day. This is a true wild river carp. It hasn't been caught before. As you can see, no marks at all in the mouth. And he is wild, he does not like me. So and it's gone. As I said, it's wild. Here's another take. Yeah. Happy days. You see, I just put this one carp back and there is another one. So it definitely is a little group of carp that move in on the bait now. Oh-ho. Not a monster, a bit the same size as the first one. Here we go. Happy days. I love it when a plan fits together. Another river common. True wild fish, as I said. And they like the tangerine dream boilies. So they are really moving on the bait now. You can go back, friend. Thank you very much for passing by. Come on. Here he goes. As I said, it was like going back in time, and in fact I was fishing against a carp, a wild creature. And as I'm a hunter, that gives me a kind of satisfaction. This is something which is in my blood and which is in a lot of people's blood, even if they try to ignore it, that they are not a hunter or whatever. This is in the nature of a human to hunt. I will not say that made me proud, but that gives me a kind of satisfaction. It's like, okay, I do understand a bit of the nature, and I can outwisdom, you know, I can catch a fish. And in fact, it's a kind of satisfaction of the hunting instinct that in fact is in every human being.